Are you out of your mind? Sagar hissed, grabbing Samay by the elbow and pulling him towards the quieter corner of the hall. You would just propose to Mohi in front of everyone. Samay yanked his arm free, brushing off the concern like lint from his shirt. Yeah, and she said yes. So what's the problem? The party swirled around them. Golden lights, soft music, scattered laughter. But none of that reached the corner where Sagar's voice trembled with disbelief. You've been dating her for what? A month? You barely know her, Samay. And you're just 23. You just started working. How is this even. Ah, don't lecture me like you're my father. I'm an adult, Samay muttered, his tone sharp. Sagar's face twisted. This isn't about age, bro. It's about intention. You're doing this to make Riddhi jealous, aren't you? Admit it. Samay looked away for half a second, then straightened up, shoulders stiff. So what if I am? That landed heavy. Sagar blinked stunned. You're playing with someone's life, man. Mohi is like my little sister. I'm not okay with this. I promised your dad to take care of her in this new city. Now you're doing this? Are you for real? She is happy, Samay said coldly. And I'm happy she is happy. That's all that matters. N- No, that's all you want to believe, Sagar shot back. You're trying to prove something. To her, to Riddhi, to yourself. You think getting married will fix your ego. Samay exhaled a bitter laugh. She moved on like I was a speed bump, paraded her new boyfriend around like I never existed. So, yeah, if she thinks I'm lost, I'm going to show her just how well I'm doing. Sagar frowned at his words. There were a flicker of something dangerous in Samay's voice, a quiet storm building under the surface, hurt, pretending to be confident. Sagar opened his mouth to say something, but he turned away and left shaking his head. Across the room, Mohi was glowing. She stood in a circle of her friends, holding her hand high, the ring catching the fairy lights strong above. Her eyes were wide with disbelief and joy, and her words tumbled over each word. He just knelt down, right there by the cake table. I had no idea. Laughter, squeals, hugs. I still can't believe it. Samir looked towards her for a moment, just a moment. Then his gaze drifted slowly to the far end of the room. There, sitting alone on a faded green couch, was Riddhi. No smile, no drink, no reaction. She was watching, or maybe just absorbing, her expression unreadable. Samay stared, waiting for something hurt, anger, jealousy. But Riddhi just looked on, her face giving nothing away. A blank wall. And yet he smiled. He then turned away, walked towards Mohi like it was the easiest decision of his life, and wrapped his arms around her. She melted into him like it meant everything. From across, Riddhi looked away. The train to Mumbai was quieter than expected. Mohi sat beside Samay, her head gently resting against his shoulder, her fingers loosely tangled with his. Samay scrolled through a group photo. He looked at her. Not Mohi, but Riddhi. Then he locked the phone and tucked it away. They stood at the doorway at Samay's parents' house, blinking. You what? His father asked. Samay exchanged a glance with Mohi and repeated, calmer this time. I want to get married. His mother was the first to recover. She studied Mohi carefully, curiously. Mohi, in her soft peach kurti, offered a smile that barely reached her eyes. Her frame was petite, shoulders slightly hunched like she was unsure if she was welcome. Her soft brown eyes and shoulder length wavy hair gave her a childlike softness, especially next to Samay, who, tall and broad, almost looked like he could carry her in one hand. Something about that contrast made them look oddly right together. Then Samay's mother asked gently, Where is your family, beta? And Mohi answered with quiet grace, Just my father. My mom passed away when I was 4. That was it. His mother's heart softened like butter on warm toast. By dinner, she was already tucking a loose strand of Mohi's hair behind her ear, asking about her favorite dishes, promising to cook them next time. His father stayed quiet but watched them both, his usual skepticism slowly melting under the nonsense of the girl sitting at the table. Samay noticed it all, the acceptance, the warmth. He felt victorious, like he had crossed a hurdle, like he was winning. Their next stop was in the hills of Uttarakhand. Pine scented air, a red roofed home tucked beneath misty skies. Her father opened the door in a sweater and shawl, holding back a protective, unreadable expression. Samay felt his stomach knot. This was different. This wasn't about ego. This was Mohi's real life. And it stood between him and the lie he was living. Over tea, her father didn't smile. Instead, he asked questions. Not rude, but firm. How long have you known each other? Why so soon? What does your job pay? What happens if you both change your mind? Samay answered like a man in control, but inside, something started to twist. They were asked to stay for a few days. The days rolled on with slow rhythm. Samay watched Mohi laugh with her father, lean on his shoulder, bring him a blanket before he asked. And in those small moments, Samay saw what it meant to love someone, not for show, but because it was real. And it stung a little, because he didn't know what he was doing anymore. How long would it go on? Until Riddhi was jealous? Until she looked sad in a corner somewhere? One evening, her father looked at him across the fire. You're a good man, Samay, and big too. No one would dare mess with her when you're around, he joked, laughing. Samay smiled, but something inside didn't. On the last day, they were packing to leave when her father called him outside, alone. One thing, he said, never hurt her, ever. Samay nodded, not out of confidence, but because he didn't know what else to say. Inside, Mohi was wrapping sweets to take back. She looked so full of life, full of hope. That night, Samay uploaded photos from their visit, selfies with Mohi, a boomerang with her father. The caption read, Family Time. The wedding was a small affair, mandap under the winter sky. Friends dressed in sherwanis and lehengas. Laughter echoed in the courtyard. Samay stood tall in cream and gold. Mohi walked towards him like a dream, dressed in red. And among the crowd in a deep green sari, Riddhi stood watching, expression unreadable as always. Samay met her eyes across the crowd for a moment. He didn't look away. He just smiled. And then, as Mohi reached the mandap, he took her hand and turned towards the priest. Ladakh welcomed them with a sky so wide it felt like it could swallow time. The cold kissed their cheeks, the wind ran fingers through their hair, and for once, Samay wasn't thinking about anything. No job, no pressure, no ego. Just the silence of mountains and the sound of Mohi laughing as she tumbled off an ATV. They did it all: river rafting in ice cold water, camel rides across moonlight deserts, ziplining, hiking. Samay wasn't the most athletic, but Mohi, she was unstoppable. She ran ahead of him every time, hair flying, eyes sparkling. Come on, you slowpoke! She would shout, grinning. And somehow, despite himself, he laughed too. It wasn't like it used to be. With Riddhi, trips were quieter. They held hands, sat still on cliff sides, whispered things that felt like poetry. Their love was reflective, layered, a quiet book read slowly. With Mohi, it was a pure color, like crayons spilled across a white page, loud, chaotic, breathless. She didn't stop to reflect, she lived. And it pulled Summer into something he hadn't felt in a while. He felt young. She She was also an unexpectedly brilliant photographer, not the kind who clicked selfies or posed under signs. No, she took moments. Him tying his shoelace with the wind blowing his hair, him laughing with a local kid who couldn't speak Hindi properly, or him gazing at the hills unaware she was behind him. Each photo felt real, not curated, not performed. And Samay, despite everything, found himself admiring her for it. That night, in the warmth of a hotel room tucked between snow-draped peaks, he picked the best ones and uploaded them on Instagram. Magic in the Mountains, Ladakh Diaries. He added a few couple photos too, her wrapped in his jacket, then them jumping mid-air, a blurry one where she kissed his cheeks unexpectedly. And then he waited. He didn't say it aloud, didn't tell Mohi he was refreshing the likes quietly. She had fallen asleep beside him, exhausted from the day. But he stayed up, watching, refreshing. Midnight struck, and there it was. Riddhi liked the post at 12 sharp. He stared it for a moment, let it sink in, still watching. He whispered to himself with a smirk. Then he locked the phone, turned towards the sleeping Mohi, and closed his eyes. They returned from Ladakh a few days later. Tan noses, sore legs, and phones full of memories. The kind that looked perfect on social media. But beneath all of it, Samay carried something else, something quieter, a satisfaction, and a shadow. Back to the grind, back to the glass walls, swipe cards, and machine made coffee. Samay walked into the office, ID card swinging from his neck, his mind sharper than it looked. His fingers carried a laptop bag, but his eyes carried one search. Riddhi. And there she was, walking towards her desk, coffee in hand, the usual black blazer over a pale blue shirt. Her hair was tied in a loose ponytail, her stride unchanged, her aura still unreadable. Their eyes met. Samay gave a subtle, smug smile. Riddhi paused for a moment. Nothing moved. Then she smiled back, polite, distant, and walked to her desk without a word. Samay exhaled, not with relief, but with victory. The day passed in routine rhythms, keyboards clacking, meetings dragging, deadlines inching closer. At 6 p.m., employees spilled out like tired bees from a hive. Mohi waited near the gate, wearing a peach kurta, hair down, smiling fresh. Samay spotted her, but before walking towards her, his eyes instinctively scanned again. There, in the distance, Riddhi, standing near the exit, phone in hand, maybe waiting for someone, maybe not. Samay didn't think. He jogged to Mohi and hugged her from behind, suddenly and sweetly. Oh my god! Mohi laughed, startled. You scared me! She turned and looked up at him, glowing. He smiled and turned his head just enough to glance back. Riddhi was still there. She looked up, saw them, and looked away quickly, as if she hadn't seen anything at all. Samay's arm tightened around Mohi just slightly. That was enough. Back home, one bedroom, one kitchen, that was all. A box of a home, with a rust colored sofa pushed near the window and a steel shelf that tried to hold too many things. Samay walked in, dropped his bag, threw his clothes on the chair, showered in 10 minutes, and landed on the bed like a shack of bricks. Phone in hand, game opened, mind elsewhere. Mori stood near the kitchen shelf, watching him, a spoon still in her hand. Hey, she said playfully, raising an eyebrow. Did you forget you're married? Wife's standing right here. Samay blinked, looked up. Oh, yeah. She sat up. He sat up straight, almost sheepishly. Mohi giggled, walked over, cleared his towel and clothes from the bed, and sat beside him. We need to talk, she said, but not in a scary way. She looked around the room, bare walls, cramped corners, one bed, no dining table. Don't you think it's high time we should shift to a bigger place? I mean, this setup is perfect for one person, but not two. Not anymore. We are married now. Samay looked around too. For the first time, he saw the room through her eyes. He didn't really plan past the wedding part. Yeah, maybe you're right, he said. Maybe? Not maybe, she nudged. We'll figure it out together. No, it's fine. I'll manage, he said quickly. But she smiled, catching the tone. No, Samay. No more of that. We'll handle things 50-50 from now on. He nodded, smiling. But there was a tightness in his chest, a flicker of frustration. He had just started saving up for his dream bike. Now, that dream would have to wait. It was the first Sunday together as husband and wife, but Samay didn't think much of it. He woke up, freshened up, checked his phone, and left to meet his boys. It was autopilot, something he did every week before, and his body remembered it better than his mind did. Halfway to the cafe, his phone buzzed. Mohi. Where are you? She asked, a bag of groceries in her hand, the other unlocking the front door. Out with the guys, why? He asked casually. Are you? What? I thought we'd decided we'd cook together. Watch that movie you picked. You made the plan yourself, remember? Somebody's face twisted. He had genuinely forgotten. But instead of guilt, he felt annoyed. Now I have to console her too, he muttered, just loud enough for Sagar to hear. Sagar raised an eyebrow but didn't say a word. He just looked away, sighed, and kept walking. He came home late. The apartment was dim, dinner plates cold on the table. Mohi sat on the bed with crossed arms, eyes refusing to meet his. When he tried to speak, she simply pointed at the sofa. Samir frowned but didn't argue. He pulled out a blanket, laid down, and turned to the wall without another word. Behind him, Mohi shook her head in disbelief. Is this what I married into? She whispered to no one. The next morning, silence filled the air like smoke. In such a small place, not talking felt absurd. Samay finally gave in. Hey, I'm sorry, okay? It just, this whole thing is new to me. I'm not used to checking in before doing things. It's going to take me some time. Mohi rolled her eyes. She wanted to stay angry, but she couldn't lie to herself. It was hard to adjust for both of them. She sighed and smiled, softening. Okay, we'll figure it out. They hugged. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Weeks passed. Mohi started calling during breaks, sweet check ins, little updates, quick questions. At first, Samay picked up, thinking it was urgent, but soon the pattern became clear. Too frequent, too random, too much. Mohi, he said one afternoon, picking up with a tired sigh. Please, please don't call during work unless it's urgent. I need to focus. There was a pause on the line. Oh, okay, she said. I'm sorry, I didn't cross my mind. I just. All right, we'll see you later. Samay spoke before she could even complete and hung up. Later that week, they moved into a new 2 BHK, a fresh start. New curtains, new cushions, new hope. To celebrate, they hosted a housewarming party. Everyone came friends, colleagues, neighbors. Mohi buzzed around in a green kurti, welcoming guests, setting snacks, lighting candles, checking the food. Before she could discuss the rules with Samay, he planted himself on the balcony with his gang, laughing loudly, completely checked out. She called out to him twice. He ignored it both times. Having no option, she went on by herself, attending guests, cooking, and serving. Everything. Her friends noticed her struggle, the sweat on her forehead, the slight tremble in her smile. Need help? One offered gently. And no, no, you all enjoy, Mohi said, hiding the sting, but her voice cracked. Saga walked in into the kitchen, leaned against the fridge. Need your help, Momo? He teased. Mohi exhaled and smiled. Sagar had always been like a brother, at least he noticed. Yeah, thanks, she said, and handed him the extra plates. After a while, he nursed her out. Go, hang out with your friends. You have earned it. She nodded, grateful. Later that night, the apartment was quiet again. The guests were gone, the laughter too. Samay flopped on the bed, ready to sleep, but Mohi wasn't having it. Are you for real? She snapped, her voice suddenly sharp. Samay sat up, startled. Hey, what's wrong with you? We hosted the party together. Together, Samay. But you, she pointed a shaking finger. You sat in the corner like you were the guest at your own house. I handled everything alone. The food, the people, everything. Didn't it even cross your mind that your wife was managing all of that herself? She snapped, voice rising. That you were supposed to be a host too. I just. She threw her hands up. I just can't understand what kind of behavior was that. How can you be so absent? Why are you making a fuss? You're the one who planned the whole thing. You dragged me into a plan. You want me to follow the script now? He snapped back. I'm not interested in playing this home. He regretted it the moment it came out. Mohi's glare made the air in the room drop several degrees. She stared at him, hurt, tired, silent. And then she turned away and walked into the guest room. He just looked, not knowing what to say. The next morning, the silence was louder than anything Samay had ever heard. Mohi woke up early. She moved around the house like a shadow, made breakfast, packed lunch, and left for work. No eye contact, no words, just silence and the click of the door behind her. That evening, she returned and did the same. Dinner for one, lights out, guest room. Somebody sat alone on the edge of their bed. The walls felt tighter than before, colder, like the home itself had turned its back on him. By 11 p.m., he couldn't take it anymore. He walked to the guest room and knocked once, then again, but no answer. Hey, please open the goddamn door and talk to me. His voice cracked with frustration. I know I mess up. I always mess up. I'm an idiot. But please, just forgive me. Silence. He leaned his forehead against the door. I'm not liking this house anymore. We haven't even been together since we moved in. Maybe this place is cursed or something. Maybe we should go back to the cozy old one bedroom. Remember, we were happy there. Still nothing. He sighed, defeated, and turned around to leave. The door creaked open. Samay froze. He turned. There she was, Mohi, standing behind him, a tired smile softening her face. She looked like she hadn't slept well in days, but her eyes shimmered with something still tender. She extended her arms. I'm sorry, Samay whispered. She stepped into his embrace. He held her tightly, lifting her off the ground like she weighed nothing. And then slowly, urgently, they kissed. They made love that night, passionate, desperate, apologetic. The next morning, he woke up to the sound of humming and faint music from the kitchen. Sunlight spilled onto the floor. At the dining table, their new dining table, Mohi had laid out breakfast, their first happy meal in the new home. Hey, she said with a grin, setting down the post. I was thinking, let's go for a swim this weekend. If you don't have other plan with your friends, of course. Her smile was vibrant, hopeful. The air felt warm again. Summer looked at her, really looked at her. Her bright face, her messy bun, the hope in her tone. It melted something in him. He nodded. Yeah, let's go. That evening, Samay walked out of his office gate. He saw Riddhi at the distance, laughing, waving. She ran into someone's arm, her boyfriend. She jumped like a kid, hugged him, clung to his hand. The two of them stood talking, close, focused, like they were planning something serious. Maybe a future. Samay stared. For a second, he thought maybe she's overdoing it to show him. He didn't know why that thought didn't feel satisfying. Then he saw Mohi, just a few steps away. She had seen it too. She was watching him. Hey, he called. She turned to him. Why were you looking at them like that? She asked, her voice calm but her eyes searching. With those hurt eyes, Samay flinched. His heart skipped, words stumbled into his mouth. Then he gently put his arms around her shoulder. "Bec- Because they reminded me of us, he said. And for a moment, I missed you. Watching them made me want to see you. And here you are. Wish granted. Mohi smiled, cheeks flushing, and reached for his hand. They walked home with takeout boxes in hand. That night, they made love again. But something was different. Samay was rougher, urgent, almost forceful. Mohi tried to slow him, to guide him, but he didn't ease up. Her body stiffened, confused, unsure. She clung to him anyway, hoping it would pass, hoping this was still about love. The next morning, Mohi was buzzing with excitement. She had packed the swim bags, set out clothes, and made breakfast early. Come on, let's not be late, she said, nearly dancing. Samay woke up with a blank stare and slow limbs. He barely responded. At the water park, Mohi lit up. She jumped into the water, laughed, splashed, ran around like a child discovering joy. Samay, he barely left the corner. He sat in the shade, filming her with his phone, his smile only appearing when he was behind the camera. Why are you so boring today? She asked, splashing him playfully. Come on, let's have fun! But he just waved her off. And when she finally gave up, drenched and disheartened, she suggested they go home early. Samay agreed instantly, never once asking if she was ready to leave. They rode home in silence. The city's noise swallowed the quiet between them, and the sparkle in Mohi's eyes, it dimmed. Back home, the lights were low and fan hummed softly. Samay and Mohi sat side by side on the couch, two people in the same frame but emotionally pixelated. Samay scrolled through his phone with a blank expression, barely aware of the silence beside him. Mohi leaned in, curious. What are you doing? He didn't respond. She tilted her head, peeked at the screen. It was Instagram. He had just posted a photo from the water park, her laughing, splashing water at him, with him behind the camera, mid laugh. It, it looked perfect. The caption, fun whenever she's around. Mohi blinked. Something felt off. You're posting this? She asked, sitting up straighter. I didn't think you enjoyed the day that much. Samay looked up, slightly defensive. Just because I'm not loud doesn't mean I didn't enjoy things, he said. I do enjoy being around you. That's why I posted it. His tone was calm, but his fingers kept scrolling. Mahi gave a small, polite smile, but inside something shifted. She didn't quite believe him. Sagar's birthday came a few days later. Warm lights, music pulsing through cozy rooms, glasses clinking, a small gathering of close friends. Mohi had helped set the table. Somebody brought in extra wine. Everyone was there, including Ridhi. She sat across the room, talking softly to a mutual friend, dressed in a bottle green top with her hair down. She looked content, not performative, just present. Samay saw her. Their eyes met for a brief electric second. Then he turned to Mohi and hugged her suddenly from the side, as if it were a reflex. What was that for? Mohi giggled, surprised. Nothing, he said. Just felt like it. She smiled and rested against him, kissing him on the cheek, unaware of the why behind it. Later during the dancing, the lights dimmed. Everyone laughed and moved freely, arms swinging, shoes off, songs getting louder. Samay pulled Mohi close to him under the golden fairy lights. They danced, and then, suddenly, he kissed her. A full, passionate kiss. Mohi gasped, a little taken aback, but his grip was firm, pulling her into the moment. Her body relaxed into him, melted against the warmth, the closeness, until she opened her eyes. His eyes were open too, but they weren't looking at her. They were looking somewhere else. Confused, Mohi turned her head slightly to see what had stolen his gaze mid kiss. Her heart sank. In the far corner, dimly lit by the amber bulbs, Riddhi sat alone, one leg crossed over the other, a glass of wine in her hand. She wasn't talking. She wasn't laughing. She was staring back at Samay. And slowly, as if sipping from some cruel ritual, she raised her glass to her lips, still not breaking eye contact. Mohi's chest tightened, her stomach flipped. She pulled away, trying to convince herself it was a coincidence. Maybe he just zoned out. Maybe it's not what it looks like. But he didn't look away. Samay stood there, mouth slightly open, still staring at Riddhi, right in front of his wife, as if Mohi wasn't even there. That was it. A sharp slap cracked through the room. Guests froze. Music lowered. Samay turned, stunned, his cheek reddening. Mohi's eyes shimmered with disgust. Are you serious, Samay? She hissed, and she stormed out of the door. Sagar had seen it all. He handed someone his drink and followed her out. Meanwhile, Samay stood there, finally processing the moment, but far too late. He looked around the party. People avoided his eyes. Some whispered. Vidhi was gone too. Now there was only silence and Samay alone in a room full of people. Samay walked out of the party, the music fading behind him, the weight of the slap still tingling on his cheek. He stepped into the hallway, pulling out his phone to text Mohi, then paused. Sagar was walking back toward the flat, face tight, expression unreadable. Is she alright? Samay asked, too casually. Sagar stopped, looked him dead in the eyes. You're a pathetic human being. Mind that. He didn't wait for a response, just walked past him, shoulders stiff. Samay rolled his eyes and watched him disappear down the hall. Dramatic, he muttered, unlocking the car. Back at home, the lights were on. Mohi sat there in the living room, still in her party clothes, face streaked with tears, eyes dull but burning. Samay paused at the sight. He sighed audibly. Are you seriously still crying? He said, tossing his keys on the counter. Mohi didn't move. Do you love her? She asked quietly. What? Riddhi, I know you like her. That much is obvious, but I want to hear it from you. Her voice was shaky but firm. Be man enough, Samay. Tell me, why did you marry me if you were still in love with her? What was I? A filler? A prop for your twisted revenge arc? Samay groaned. Come on, Mohi, stop this drama. I'm tired. He walked straight to the room, slamming the door behind him. Mohi sat there, staring at the empty hallway. No apology, no denial, not even an attempt, just dismissal. She didn't move for nearly an hour, just stared at the wall like her soul had momentarily walked out of her. Eventually, she stood and went to the guest room quietly. The next morning, Samai woke up to silence. Breakfast on the table, her bag gone. The apartment still. It continued like that for days. No fights, no apologies, no questions, just nothing. They crossed paths in the hallway, in the kitchen, on the balcony. Mohi never looked at him. She didn't sing. She didn't hum. She didn't smile. She just existed. Samai didn't bother at first. It was easier that way. But after a few days, the silence began to itch. Her stillness started to feel like rejection, not grief. One morning, Samay woke up earlier than usual. He tiptoed in the kitchen just to see her. She was there, dyeing her hair, packing her lunch. Hey, he muttered, voice low. She, she didn't even flinch, no tension in her shoulders. She simply ignored him. Later that day at the office, Samay sat at the desk, but his screen remained a blank. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, unmoving. His thoughts weren't in code. They were stuck somewhere else between a quiet kitchen and an empty guest room. The silence back home, Mohi's stillness, her peace. It wasn't cold anymore. It was calm, detached. She's not even angry, he realized, a lump forming in his throat. She's just done. She had stopped waiting for an explanation, stopped hoping for change, and that haunted him more than any of the fights they had had. He didn't notice the footsteps until a warm cup of coffee appeared in front of him. He blinked, startled, and looked up. Riddhi stood there with a gentle smile, composed, familiar, as if none of the chaos had ever existed. She placed her hand tightly over his. Her touch was calm, not romantic, just human. I think we should stop behaving like kids, she said softly. Samay stared at her for a moment, unsure what she meant. Then, so you admit you made a mistake? He asked, his voice unusually quiet. Riddhi nodded without hesitation. Yes, I do. We were both stubborn, both trying to win some unspoken war. And somewhere along the way, we just forgot to care about the damage. Samay exhaled slowly. Her words didn't sting. They settled, like truth often does. Yeah, he said, sitting up straighter. I need to stop too. This game, it's already done enough damage. He paused, staring at his fingers. It's already breaking her, he added, his voice heavier. I don't want to keep hurting her. I don't want to be that person. Riddhi gave a soft, almost bittersweet smile and stood up. All right then, she said. If you need anything, I'm here. Samay nodded, watching her leave. For the first time in a long while, something inside him shifted. Not out of love for Riddhi, but out of accountability. And maybe clarity. After that, they were officially back together, Samay and Riddhi. They would spend time together like old days, hold hands, text each other every second. But the conversation would mostly be around telling Mohi the truth ASAP. Samay agreed to do so too. Samay woke up with a plan. He would confront Mohi, tell her everything, why he married her, what he felt, and what he didn't. He stood brushing his teeth, rehearsing the monologue in his head. I married you to get back at someone. I didn't expect this. And now that, he whispered to the mirror. He didn't have an answer. Before he could spiral any deeper, a knock at the door interrupted him. He turned to see Mohi walking towards it from the kitchen, eyes locking with his for a brief moment. Curious, blank. He reached the door first and opened it. Mohi's father. Samay froze for a millisecond before plastering a nervous smile. Uncle, what a surprise! Papa? Mohi squealed, jumping with delight. What are you doing here? Happy birthday, sweetheart, he said, pulling her into a long, tight hug. Mohi beamed. Samay blinked. Birthday? He had forgotten completely. Mohi's father shot him a look, not angry, but disappointed. The kind that weighed more than rage. I had a meeting in the city. Thought I'd see you, he said, still holding Mohi's hand. Just for a few hours. No way, Papa. You must stay today, she insisted. Yes, uncle, please stay, Samay added, quickly forcing a smile. All right, on to lunch then. Let me make something, Samay said, suddenly animated. You two sit relax. I'll cook today. Mohi gave him a surprised glance. Thanks, she said, her first kind word in days. It made Samay feel strangely warm. She headed to the bedroom to call in for leave. Samay opened the fridge, took out the chicken, vegetables, spices. He was halfway through chopping when a deep voice stopped him cold. What have you done to my daughter? He froze, knife still in hand. What do you mean, uncle? Muhi's father stepped into the kitchen, eyes sharp. Her glow, it's gone. Her eyes, they used to light up. Now they are not. What did you do to her? Samay's throat went dry. His heart pounded. Shame curled in his chest like smoke. He had never noticed, or maybe never cared to. Just then, Mohiri entered the room, bouncing on her feet. I got the leave, she smiled. Samay put down the knife and pulled her into a hug. Congrats, he whispered. They jumped in unison, laughing for show. Her father just watched like he was studying a lie from the outside. The lunch was warm, casual. They laughed about old school stories and favorite meals. Mohir's father smiled, but not with ease. Eventually, he stood to leave. You're growing into a woman I'm proud of, he said, holding her hand. Just remember who you are. She nodded. Then her father glanced at Samay one last time, searching for something. Samay's breath stopped for a while until he left. He collapsed onto the couch. He looked at Mohi, really looked at her. He tried to see what her father saw. The truth? There was distance, a stillness in her face that had nothing to do with sadness. It was peaceful, but not for him. Before he could think deeper, the doorbell rang again. He didn't need to ask. Mohi's face lit up with recognition. Your parents, she guessed. Yeah, Samay said with a smile, standing to greet them. His mother walked in first, arms wide. Happy birthday, beta, she said, pulling Mohi into a warm embrace and kissing her forehead. Surprise, his father added. Why this sudden visit? Samay asked. Her birthday and our annual checkup, her mom replied. We'll stay for a few days. Samay looked at Mohi, expecting a frown, but she smiled fully. Her eyes glimmered. That night, they set up his parents in the guest room. Samay and Mohi went left to share their old bedroom. He was about to offer to sleep on the floor when Mohi, without a word, took a blanket and slept on the sofa. The next day at the office, Samay sat with Riddhi. He told her everything, the unexpected visit, his parents staying, the timing being off. Maybe this isn't the right time to say anything, he concluded. Riddhi nodded. Mohi's smart, she said. She's probably playing the good daughter in law act to make it harder for you to leave. Samay paused. You think so? Of course. She knows how to win your parents. She's buying time. Samay nodded slowly. Makes sense. But back at home, Mohi's scare didn't feel manipulative. She cooked, smiled, laughed at his dad's jokes. His mom praised her cooking and said she was the kind of daughter she never had. Samay laughed too, sometimes a little too easily. But once the door to their room closed, it all vanished. Mohi never looked at him. She answered in single syllables or not at all. One night he tried to break the silence. Hey, can we talk? She didn't even blink, just kept holding her clothes. Something about her peace, her ease with ignoring him, unnerved him. Finally, the day came when his parents packed up and left. That night, Mohi finally spoke to him. We need to talk. Samay sat up straight. Finally, he sighed. Yeah, me too. There is something I need to tell you. Ac- Actually, I want you to meet someone. Mohi raised an eyebrow, amused. You're making it sound like I'm going to a job interview. He laughed awkwardly. Let's meet at Cafe B after office. Sure, she smiled. Samay was nervous, more than he'd ever admit. He sat beside Riddhi at the cafe, pretending to sip on his cold brew, leg bouncing under the table. He checked his phone again and again. Relax, Riddhi said, placing a hand on his arm. She'll come. Just talk. Samay didn't meet her eyes. I've been an ass, he whispered. I played with someone's heart. She genuinely loved me. I don't know how she'll take it. What if she freaks out? Or worse, what if she. He didn't finish the sentence. Samay, Riddhi caught him. Firmer now. Stop! You're doing the right thing. She deserves the truth. He nodded, but the lump in his throat stayed. A little while later, Mohi walked in, hair open, a soft beige kurta, her expression unreadable, neutral. Samay's heart skipped. The moment her eyes met theirs, she flinched, just a blink, then straightened her shoulders and walked up to the table. Hi, Riddhi smiled, extending her hand. Mohi looked at it for half a second, then smiled and shook it. Samay, Samay studied her face, her eyes, her tone, but she was calm, almost light. He blinked in disbelief. Okay, I'll start, Riddhi said. It's only fair. Mohi nodded, eyes locked. We have loved each other since school, Riddhi began. Lots of dramas, fights, amateur ego trips. One day we had a huge fight. I was mad, really mad, so I got a boyfriend just to make him jealous. But instead of reacting or confronting me, Samay, she paused, then glanced sideways at him. He found you, married you. Even I didn't see that coming. Riddhi gave a small laugh at the absurdity. Samay kept his eyes on Mohi, bracing. But Mohi did something unexpected. She leaned back, looked down at her lap for a moment, then smiled. Not a sarcastic smile, not bitter, just accepting. You two are made for each other, she said softly. Riddhi blinked. Wait, really? Aren't you mad? Even a little? Mohi looked up at her. No, she said simply. In fact, I'm grateful you told me before it got worse. It made everything much clearer. Riddhi looked stunned, Samay disoriented. Uh, thank you, Riddhi stammered, then stood to hug her. Mohi didn't move. All right, I should go, she said, stepping back from the table. Take care. She turned to leave. Wait, Samay said. You said you said you wanted to talk too. Mohi stopped near the door, turned slightly, eyes calm but distant. I did, but not anymore. I'm happy for you too. That's all I needed to say. And she walked out. Samay sat frozen. Something inside him curled uncomfortably. He stared at the empty seat Mohi had just left. That's it? He whispered. Was it? For a few days, Mohi was just gone. She didn't come home when Samay did. Her toothbrush remained in the holder. Her shoes stayed neatly by the door. The kitchen was cold, untouched. The house carried a stillness that wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. He thought maybe she was staying with friends, or maybe she couldn't bear to be around him anymore. The idea made his chest tighten, but he said nothing, did nothing, told himself she just needed space. He kept expecting her to walk in with that slight frown she wore when she was annoyed, mumbling about work or traffic or missing coriander leaves, but she never came. Then one evening, somebody tossed his keys into the bowl and kicked off his shoes. The dim light from the hallway barely reached the living room, but something felt off. Then he saw them boxes, neat, taped, labeled with black marker, like the final period to a sentence he never expected would end. Mohi emerged from the bedroom, a folded bedsheet in her hand. She looked calm, tired maybe, but not broken. Samay's chest tightened. You shifting out? He asked, like he didn't already know. Mohi paused, then nodded, gently placing the sheet into a bag. Yes. I just thought. He rubbed his temples, searching for footing. I mean, this quick? We haven't even talked. She looked at him resolved. What is there to talk about? I mean, the logistics. How we carry things forward. There is no we, Samay. Not anymore. That landed like a stone in his chest. My life is on me now, she said, adjusting the strap of her duffel. And I'm okay with that. Samay swallowed hard. What about our parents? My dad will be okay. I'll tell him everything in a week or so. He deserves honesty. As for your parents, you tell them or not, I don't really care. But if you want me to tell them, I will. She moved towards the door. Samay's voice cracked slightly. Mohi, you don't have to do all this alone. We can. You You don't worry about me, Samay. At least not now, she said quietly. He had no comeback. Mohi opened the door and paused. For a moment, she looked back at the apartment. The walls that had heard their fights, the couch where they had sat in silence, the kitchen that smelled of their Sunday breakfast. Then she turned to him, smiled faintly. Take care. And she left. The door clicked shut. Samay stood in the stillness, staring at the space she used to fill. The soft hum of the fridge was the only sound now. Everything else gone. He sat on the edge of the couch, ran a hand through his hair, and let the silence wrap around him like a noose. Then his phone rang. Riddhi. He stared at the screen, the name blurry, and then he hit silent. He placed the phone down, leaned forward with his elbows on his knees, and finally let the truth sink in. Not just that she left, but that he drove her away. A few days later, a brown envelope arrived. Inside, divorce papers. Mahi had already signed. Samay stared at her signature. Real. Final. He shoved the envelope away. He needed to talk. Samay walked to Sagar's gate, rehearsing a dozen things to say, but he stopped cold. Mohi was there. She was laughing, her smile soft, effortless. Then she hugged Sagar gently before stepping into a waiting cab. Sagar stood at the gate, watching the car until it disappeared around the corner. Samay's chest burned. His pace quickened, fist clenched. He didn't think, he just moved. Grabbing Sagar by the collar, he shoved him back. What the hell are you up to? Samay growled. You're the reason she left, aren't you? Sagar staggered, then slapped his hands away. Have have you completely lost it? He snapped. You turned her against me, didn't you? Samay shouted. Told her I was a mistake, that I never loved her. Sagar's eyes narrowed. You didn't need me to say that, he said coldly. You showed her yourself every single day. Samay's breath caught. His anger trembled now, not with rage, but something heavier. You're just pissed she didn't cry at your feet, that she didn't fall apart when you pushed her too far. Sagar continued, voice slow. Then he shook his head, stepping back. But I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad she walked away before you could ruin her completely. Having you as the father of her child would be miserable. That struck something. Samay blinked, confused. What did you just say? I said I'm glad she had the strength. No, Samay cut in, voice sharper now. You said I would have ruined her as a father? Sagar's expression faltered. He looked up as if replaying his words. Then it hit him. His eyes widened slightly. Wait, you don't know, do you? He asked. Know what? Samay's voice cracked. A long pause. Mohi was pregnant, Samay. Everything in Samay stilled. The world dimmed into white noise. She came to tell you, Sagar added gently, but I believe you gave her enough reason not to tell you. Samay's mouth parted, but no sound came. He, his mind raced to that moment. Mohi walking in, Riddhi already seated beside him, already talking, already explaining their shared past and what they meant to each other. Mohi had barely spoken. She made her choice, Samay. She aborted, Sagar said softly. No, Samay whispered. It was as if someone had punched through his chest. He stepped back, airless. No, no, you're lying, he muttered, eyes unfocused. Sagar didn't respond. He didn't need to. Samay fumbled for his phone, breath shaky, hand trembling as he found her contact. He hit call. It rang. Then, hello? Mohi's voice came through, calm as ever. We need to meet, he said quickly. Right now. A pause. Okay, she replied. Mohi sat across him, arms crossed, gaze cold. Samay slammed his hand on the table. How could you make that decision without me? What decision? She asked quietly. The abortion. You lost the right to have a say, Samay. When you married me for someone else, when you brought her back into your life and I was still in it, you had no right. You had no heart, she said. She stood, I chose to remove every possible string that could tie me to you. That includes a child, before it was too late. You've got what you wanted. Now, let me have what I want. Peace. She walked out. Samaya didn't move. He sat there for hours, watching cars pass, people laugh, time move. Back home, he collapsed on the bed. Didn't go to work for days. Until one morning, he forced himself out. Back at the office, he saw Ridhi in the distance, hair loose, smile radiant, walking like a memory from a different life. His heart didn't skip. Instead, it sunk. When she waved and walked towards him, he turned around, grabbed an Uber, and rode in silence, nowhere in mind, just a man realizing he wasn't a victim, he was the villain. The Uber hummed quietly beneath him. Samay sat in the back seat, forehead resting against the cold window. Raindrops trailed down the glass like tear stains. The driver asked where he wanted to go. Just drive, Samay said. His voice was hollow, like him. They passed buildings he had never noticed before. People rushing under umbrellas. Life moving at his usual pace, except his wasn't. His mind was stuck in every moment he took for granted. Mohi's morning hums while making tea, her tiny frame dancing barefoot on the balcony, the way she always looked back once closing the door. He never saw any of it, not truly. He had been too busy watching someone else, too busy feeding his pride, too busy mistaking attention for love. And now she was gone. So was the child he never got to meet, a life he didn't deserve to father, a woman who was strong enough to leave before he could do more damage. He closed his eyes. He had chased shadows and burned the light in his hands. The car slowed to a signal. A couple crossed the road holding hands, laughing under a shade umbrella. Samay watched them fade into the fog of diesel, his own reflection barely visible in the window. You all right, sir? The driver asked. He blinked, swallowed the lump in his throat. Yeah, he whispered, just trying to figure out how to be. And the car rolled on, into nowhere, into what was left, into whatever came next.